All right. Welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA Podcast. My name is Keith Parish, here with my buddy through the miracle of computer phone. I'm here with John Burr. John Burr, you are holding in each hand a Route 44 Sonic Cup. That is
88 ounces
of greatness. Oh, of freedom. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Subliminality.
I think you
Did you listen to Sublime at any point in your life?
Never. And there was never a moment in my life where I thought Sublime was okay. It was I consider honest a bane of the early 2000s. Wasn't my thing.
I had two practices as the drummer for a Sublime cover band, and I still feel guilty about it to this day.
It was, I might have taken myself too seriously in my college days and immediately after.
I'm slightly younger than you, so it wasn't college, and I didn't really know what was going on. I just wanted to play with some people, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that music where I snubbed my nose at it. And I said, I'm too good for this. And then somebody's like, hey, you want to play this Bush song in a cover band? And then I played the Bush song, and I'm like,
yeah,
that kind of rips.
I'm
like, it's actually really fun to play. So yeah, the live music experience turns out it makes a lot of those songs that maybe you're kind of snobby about. You're like, no, actually, this is awesome. This is really fun.
I don't ever really judge juggalos really, because I was in a Sublime cover band and we played 311 songs. And if you really think about it and you really listen to it, Sublime and 311, they were just the insane clown posse of our youth.
Well, also, yeah, it's hard. Some of this music, it's hard to extract the music from the culture, from the fans.
Right.
311, I had that with just all the bros and the dudes in their Jeeps who graduated from Dave Matthews Band and then decided 311 was the one.
Amber is the color of our energy.
I couldn't. Oh man. Anyways, John, a lot of NBA stuff has happened in the past couple of days. The conference finals kicked off.
Whew, did they ever?
They were not awesome.
No.
There were some hangovers from the game sevens.
And that's how I view them.
Yeah, so hopefully there's not a lot to read into them. Both of them were absolute blowouts. The Celtics looked awesome in the first half. Jason Tatum was amazing in the first half of game one. Then in the third quarter, the Heat happened. The Celtics were 2 for 15 from the field. The Heat outscored the Celtics by 25 points.
An all-time insane Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler joined Michael Jordan as the only two players in a conference finals game to have at least 40 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 steals and 3 blocks. He finished with what was like 41, 9, 5, 4, and 3.
I know it didn't happen, but it felt like Gabe Vincent had the same line.
Gabe Vincent had a huge contribution.
Does Kyle Lowry get his spot back? Like, what happens here?
No.
Yeah.
The 25-point third quarter differential, it's actually the third quarter this postseason with a 25-point differential. The other two were by the Memphis Grizzlies, but it's the first time in NBA playoff history. There's been 3 individual quarters where one team won it by at least 25 points. Yeah, it was ugly. And like the hangover effect of the game sevens, it turns out since 1989, teams coming off a game 7 victory are 32 and 59.
Wow.
In the game ones. So maybe it was just a hangover. Obviously, the Celtics were missing Marcus Smart and Al Horford. Al Horford is going to miss game 2, everyone thinks. Now Derek White is going to miss game 2 to attend the birth of his child. But Marcus Smart is supposed to be back.
Did they induce labor so that Derek White would miss the game?
Did he ask it? Can we do it right now? I don't know. I mean, Derek White did not have a great game 1, but it basically was that Jimmy Butler and Bam, oh my word, the Bam defense in that third quarter, where he was guarding Tatum like out to the half court line, or guarding Jaylen Brown out to the half court line, and then pins the block for the wedgie. That was at all time. Like, I yelped.
I know we've talked about this before, but the Celtics' weakness of having I can't think of a better word for this. No dribblers. They don't have any dribblers.
Especially when Marcus Smart. They didn't know how to dribble the basketball.
Marcus Smart's not a dribbler either. They just have no dribblers on their team. So it's just like, I think they can play around it, but it is, we saw teams doing that before, even the Nets tried to do it. The Bucks tried to do it as well. It's just, the Heat can make it more impactful. You know, it's a big difference when Grayson Allen is harrying you versus Jimmy Butler, you know.
Yeah, so that game 2 is on Thursday night. Game 1 of Mavericks Suns also similarly, actually, not even similarly, at least I felt Celtics Heat was entertaining. Like when the Heat turned it up, it was like, oh my God.
I turned
this one was kind of boring. It was closer to boring. The Mavericks, their team shooting splits, they were 36, 23, 67. They tied the conference finals record for most 3-pointers missed. They attempted 48 3-pointers, made only 11. Doncic was 6 for 18, 20 points, 7 turnovers. The only thing interesting to me from this game is Steph Curry's free throws being officially broken. Like he literally absolutely broken. Greatest foul shooter of all time, probably.
Not even the best on his own team anymore.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole is taking over.
Yeah. Poole came and got him in the regular season, and now in the postseason, Steph Curry went 4 for 7 from the foul line, which is just stunning. And now for the playoffs, Steph, it is embarrassing. He's under 80%, 79.5%. Rudy Gay foul shooting numbers.
Yeah. This game, I did feel like it was way different in that it was less about, you know, and the Miami game, it became about just incredible performances by certain players, I felt. I thought coaching had a I've been worshiping at the altar of Jason Kidd all season. I thought he kind of had a rough game, and I thought Kerr, who I give a hard time, had a really good game. I don't think it's going to matter that much what either of these teams did, because I think the adjustments will be severe. Like, I don't think after that game, the Mavs will be as obsessed with stopping Steph Curry as they were, which I was really surprised that they threw so much at him. I think if they had watched the Grizzlies series, I just don't think Steph is the same player anymore. The players who, to me, dominated this game were Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney. I think if Kevon Looney had
the same guys, man.
If Kevon Looney had played every game against the Grizzlies, we'd have gotten swept.
Yeah, they definitely, their adjustment to go with Looney, it paid off again. And Wiggins,
nice.
I took a shot at Rudy Gay on the free throws. He's a fine free throw shooter.
Right.
I was thinking about Rudy Gay because of Andrew Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they were similar players, and I feel like Andrew Wiggins feels like one of the first guys I can think of who was a Rudy Gay type player who they were like, you know what, if he could take a lower usage role, if he could switch over to a different playing style, he'd be really, really effective on good teams. And like Wiggins has just done it. Like
Wiggins tortures me because
that adjustment.
Not only it has ended the D'Lo Wiggins trade talks, I think once and for all this playoffs has, but then like what you're talking about, the lower usage rate, like that's like my Dylan Brooks dream, kind of, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like that's what I want. So I'm just desperate. Like I'm pretty enamored with the fact that Wiggins, but it does help that I don't think Wiggins ever wanted the role that he had.
Maybe like when he was on Minnesota, it was always like, this guy's unbelievably athletic.
Yep.
And he's really good at getting to like this mid-range jumper, but also I felt like I saw apathy in his game in Minnesota, where it's like, all right, he just doesn't try that hard. Like once he gets kind of metaphorically punched in the mouth, it's like he seems like he just gives, and then he just keeps shooting, and he's not that.
But now you're playing with three Hall
of
Famers.
You're playing with the Hall of Famers, and it turns out it is contagious. I guess possibly it's contagious, but like,
I mean, he's like that's the most trouble I've seen anyone give Luke. Although I do think so. Here's what I think about that game. Kerr threw the kitchen sink at Luka. I have not seen in a game that many different defenses deployed. But I do think Luka can kind of break down any of them given enough time. But hey, winning game one is a big deal, and taking advantage of the fact that you won in 6 games and your opponent didn't is a big deal. So I'm not going to like attribute this to luck or say it's meaningless. I think both game one wins are huge. Miami had to win that game.
Yeah,
and when
sure.
and when with the injuries at hand, and that first half, it felt like they were going to lose. The fact that they were able to have that third quarter is just very meaningful and should be frightening.
Yeah, no, I mean both teams that won when you win a blowout, it feels dominant. It makes everyone immediately regret all their series picks. I definitely felt a lot of regret thinking like the Mavericks and Celtics would win. I want to go back to Wiggins for 1 second because I didn't explicitly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to explicitly say it. He's so good at defense.
It's amazing.
And that change where he's been that way, since he joined the Warriors, but like he's just really coming into his own. Like I am the perimeter defender and like I'm making all these hustle plays. And it's just so like, maybe I just totally misread him, misjudged him in Minnesota and haven't given him enough credit for what he's done on the Warriors. But seeing it this postseason, you're just like, man, that guy is so important and so impactful. And it's like, it's hard to imagine how much the way we used to think of him.
I will not pretend to have followed the Timberwolves closely before this season, but knowing folks that do, especially in our Patreon only Slack, no, Wiggins was pretty reviled and thought of as an apathetic player, and definitely not as a quote unquote winning player. So I mean, this is, and I'm not kidding. I feared him the most in our series against the Warriors. He was the most disruptive player to me.
I didn't fear him until it started happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it was just like, I can't believe this. And every time he got the ball, I was like, oh, he's going to score. And every time he was on our guy, I was like, he's going to disrupt the shot. It was, it was a very strange nightmare indeed.
But also, I don't know if it's going to change the series at all for the Warriors, but like the return of Otto Porter Jr. and now it just feels like they kind of have their dudes. Like if they're going to play Looney, to have, Draymond, Stephen, Clay, and then with Wiggins playing so well, you got Looney, you got Jordan Poole being this unbelievable microwave bench scorer again. Yeah. And if Otto Porter can be healthy, like, all right, like, why not? Why not the Warriors, to win the whole thing?
I think, that game was a bit of a perfect storm. No one but Luka hit any shots. I still think that's going to be, I thought it was going to be a pretty good series to begin with, just because I feel like the Warriors are great in close games and have so much playoff experience. But I still feel pretty good about the Mavs making it a good series. And then I feel if the Celtics get any guys back, I still like the Celtics in that series as well. But that game scared me more than somehow. I know Mavs Dubs was a larger margin and a more dominant performance. I just don't know if you can expect that many perfect games from Jimmy Butler and company.
Well, Jimmy Butler has a ton of kind of perfect games in his playoff resume.
17, 18 from line. Yeah, there has to be no.
He has Jimmy so Butler many games where he's like.
He had a really good regular season, but this is a different guy.
Well, I want to say he has multiple playoff games in his career where he's over 60% from the field and over 90% from the line. The guy he's just a playoff gamer, and he's so awesome.
But he seems to really enjoy like the pressure cooker of it all.
Oh, I think he definitely was like, I want to rip apart Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired of people talking about Jason Tatum. Like I think Jason Tatum's a better player than Jimmy Butler. But then when you get to the postseason, it's like mano a mano. You're like,
you have to ask yourself, who would you
Jimmy
rather have
Butler
for one game?
Special. Like,
but Jason Tatum, I mean, first half, Jason Tatum was ridiculous again.
He really was. And after seeing what he did against Giannis and the Bucks, you're like, this guy's just carrying him with these difficult 3-pointers and just scoring constantly. The Heat, maybe it was just their pressure and they're like double teaming him and like swarming him, making him pass, forcing the Celtics not having dribblers or passers, to try to.
I sent Chuck a tweet that I thought was a really interesting analogy. It was by a guy named Jared Weiss.
Yeah, Jared Weiss.
He said, Giannis was a comet hurtling toward Earth, but Jimmy Butler is a SEAL team sneaking in under the cover of darkness. He waited for the Celtics to get comfortable, start to relax, then rob them blind. Now they must solve the star in perpetual action. That is brutal. And there was
that sequence in the third quarter where it looked like my greatest church league basketball team of all time when I was in high school, where we just pressed and forced turnovers every single possession.
Oh, it's crazy.
And then the coach would sub us all out after 5 minutes. And it was like, Jimmy kept stealing the ball. Like the Celtics felt like they couldn't get the ball across half court.
I watched with Celtics fans again. And I mean, I think probably by the end of the second half, 17 shots of alcohol had been consumed. Like it put people in dark places. It was disturbing.
Yeah. Speaking of teams in dark places, the NBA draft lottery went down.
We did a Pacers joke.
We did a live watch party on Playback. It was a lot of fun, and I'm like really happy about the lottery results, which just might be a weird way to go about life. But all the teams that ended up at the top of the lottery, it basically went to chalk. The only thing weird that happened was like the Kings moved up a few spots. And that's not weird.
Nothing crazy, but it was still funny.
Like the Pistons dropped 2, which is like statistically the most likely thing that could have happened. Same for the Pacers. You know, like the top 7, it's like, that makes sense. Like the Magic were terrible. They get to pick first. The Thunder somewhat get rewarded for tanking it out. You know, they finished second. The Rockets were the worst team in the NBA, arguably all year, had the worst record. They're third. The Kings sent Domantas Sabonis and good luck charm. They get fourth. They get stuck with probably going to take another little guard. Good thing they got rid of Halliburton. Now they can get Jaden Ivey. So it's fine. No harm, no foul.
I'm sure Domantas Sabonis has seen a lot of like harbingers of doom over the past year. But that had to be yet another one, looking around that room and seeing who the other representatives at the draft were.
I like Anderson Varejao. Cavaliers legend.
Looking like Christopher Cross.
Anderson Varejao. But so now we get to study up on the draft. I think the fun part about this is, you know, the consensus top 3, it's all big men. The league seems to be trending away from big men once again. The pendulum is swinging away from big men.
Depends on which conference you're in.
Well, even John, and even the dominant ones, John Hollinger wrote a thing about how like all of the big men taken in the top 6, it's like they rarely turn out to be all-stars. It's essentially Embiid. Right. And everyone else, it's just like you find a center later. You find a Jared Allen. You find a
I think it's kind of always been that way. Even when we think of like that era of big centers, that's still such a small percentage of picks. I mean, for every David Robinson, there's a Sam Bowie. I mean, it's just it's kind of a shell game. It's hard to win. Your options are not great.
But so one of the things I like about it is, you know, if like the Magic, the Thunder, and Rockets all have obviously a lot of holes, not a ton of elite talent on those squads yet. Not a lot of things they've written in ink. Like these are our guys here. So like they could take these big men, you know, Smith and Boncaro and Chet Holmgren. And then, but they also could definitely just like, there could be a bunch of trades. Like there could be a ton of trades in this first round of people who, if they really prioritize getting one of those 3 guys, or
especially considering that the next draft is supposed to be so insane,
right? The next draft has a bunch of great guys headlined by Wembanyama, who everyone thinks he's like the best player ever. But like also you have Kings, Pistons, and Pacers. They could trade around. The Trailblazers, the only team that maybe was like a gap year. They think they're going to bounce back with Dame healthy. Of course, no one knows what's happening again in Portland because they hired Joe Cronin. They made interim position permanent without doing a GM search. Cocoon. or any interview or anything. There was no jump up of like the teams that were pretty good. Like the Pelicans did not get lucky taking the Clippers pick. But like all these teams can move around. You have the Hornets who have the 14th and 16th pick. Like, will they try to package to move up?
It seems like the perfect time to do so. But again, this is such a weird draft.
You have the Spurs who have 3 first rounders, 9, 20, and 25. Our Grizzlies have 22 and 29. Rockets have 3 and 17. I could definitely see just a lot of shifting all around the board.
Those later round picks sure seem more valuable than they used to me, though.
You know, I don't know. Like, I think some front offices really value them. I think the Grizzlies are like, we have confidence we can find a contributor and thus have the cheapest salaried guys in the NBA, a la best salary in the NBA currently, Desmond Bane. Right. A 30th pick, you know, you get him for 4 years. So like maybe they value those, but I don't know. Like if it's one of these flat drafts where there's not a lot of talent that clearly identifies itself as like, you know, like
here's where when I know I'm not interested in a draft is that I'm pretty much more obsessed with who's going to draft the fat quarterback from Colorado State as opposed to any of the top 10 guys.
Is that the Roddy?
Yes.
That's the only guy I keep hearing about. So I just keep
watching. I just keep watching his workouts because it's like, you know, watching like this like square, short-legged Jared Lorenzen type heave up 3-pointers. I absolutely love it, and I need it in my life. Seems like he'll go to the Kings.
How high? Do you know how high is he actually supposed to go high? I thought he was.
I think he's like
everyone's like fired up about him.
Yeah, if even the first round, you know.
It's really funny that like now 2 days in, I'm already getting like you're already starting to get Like I see the names, just like the random names floated about. Like I just randomly knew that Roddy name because everyone's just talking about that guy. And I feel like, oh, that means he's supposed to be pretty good. The other one I keep hearing about, again, this is, I think our listeners know, I don't follow college basketball. I'm basically learning afresh. I'm like trying to find out everything about these players I've never heard about. The guy from Baylor, I don't know how to say his last name, Jeremy Sochan. Yeah. Everyone's like, this guy's going to be incredible. So you think he's terrible. The vibe I'm getting from him
Big
is
12 like, and SEC is all I ever see. And Sochan is like Marcus Smartish.
Well, so that's people keep saying he's a league player. He's going to come in like a Mikal Bridges.
I could see him being I could see him being an annoying guy.
Yeah, so like he's a name where it has popped to me that I keep seeing people that I kind of trust.
That's a Bill Simmons thing, and like we're living in this thing where we manifest his will now. So that's Bill Simmons' favorite player based off of 2 games.
I also know everyone in Memphis. I glean this through osmosis. Everyone's excited about second rounder Josh. Is it Minot? Supposedly a super athlete who didn't play much under Penny Hardaway. And everyone's like, that's just
you're talking about Memphis Tigers.
A Memphis Tiger. Yeah. And that's just the guy to get who in a couple years you take the swing on your second round there.
The Tigers had like an elite recruiting class that did nothing. So that makes sense.
Well, also I know going back to like, why would you draft a big? Jalen Duren from Memphis is like a top 10 possible candidate lottery pick. It's like, well, why are we drafting centers, guys? That goes back again for my point of ignorance. Just like the simple bullet point is like, well, why would we draft a center? Why would anyone do that? I don't know. Anyways,
it feels like we'll get to the part of, and I know this is dead now, but there was the don't draft running backs for, a decade in the NFL. I feel like we're coming close to don't draft big men.
So everyone in the draft is hoping they end up with, good picks, obviously. And the league recognized some of the best picks from last year with the all rookie selections. I don't think there were any surprises.
I was surprised that Bill Simmons' will was not done and no Herbert Jones.
when I did my all rookie show, Dave DeFore was on it. It was like a month and a half ago. I had Herb Jones in over Jalen Green, but like Jalen Green making it is not a shock or a surprise.
He had an insane last month too.
Yeah. He finished strong. He stuck the landing. Where like a Josh Giddey, who only played I think 54 games.
That's my favorite take is that Josh Giddey should have been on first team.
If we're on a per game basis, sure. He was I think 4th comfortably, if not higher. When he stopped playing, when they shelved him. But like the first team, Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, unanimous, like we all thought. Franz Wagner, which I think again everyone put him on there. Although one person did not have Franz Wagner on their first or second team, which I guess is fine of the 100 people who voted. And then Jalen Green makes it. Herb Jones finished 6th. So, he was the first alternate for the first team. If there is a problem with the ballots, 9 people did not have Herbert Jones on the first or second team, which just seems erroneous. Like that is in fact an error. I don't know how you did that. And then Giddey, Bones Highland, Ayu Dosunmu, and Chris Duarte made up the second team. The only thing I had different, I had Davion Mitchell over Dosunmu. Mitchell finished 12th.
Davion Mitchell looked awesome at the very end of the season, I thought. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I would even maybe have Davion Mitchell over Bones Highland. I thought Highland was so double-edged. I just probably watched too much Nuggets, but Highland kind of drove me insane when he was in.
So I think a lot of people did what I did with the Highland, where he just played a bunch of games on a playoff team. Like he played in crucial minutes for a playoff team, and that was the tiebreaker over like Kuminga or Şengün or Jalen Suggs, where it's like, all right, this guy actually played meaningful minutes for a team.
Kuminga is so tantalizing, but you can't do that.
Yeah, Kuminga finished 11th. Dave DeFore had Kuminga on over Duarte. So
coach him up, Dave.
Not a lot to be shocked about. I think they basically got this. Also, that's the homogenous nature of these things now, where everyone compares notes, and we all get the same results from all.
Did Zaire have any votes at all?
Zaire got like 6 votes. Officially, that would put him
votes.
like 15th. But he was behind. The guys who didn't make it also receiving votes. It was Kuminga, Davion Mitchell, Şengün, Jalen Suggs, Zaire. I think
Suggs got votes.
That's as many as I wrote. I think I know Alvarado got a couple votes. He came on super strong. He had that amazing.
I think if we had a whole year of No Way Jose, he would have made it.
Oh, yeah. Alvarado had that amazing plus minus until the second to last game of the season where the Grizzlies beat him by 40. It was pretty good.
Take care of that.
I guess finally, the final bit of news before we get out of here, there's a report that the Timberwolves are heavily recruiting and in talks with Nuggets president of basketball operations, Tim Connolly, to come join the Timberwolves, which would be a remarkable exodus of front office talent leaving the Nuggets after Masai Ujiri and then Karnisovas. Is that how I say that? Arturas, the guy for the Bulls right now.
Right.
It seems to be somewhat based on the fact that the Walmart owners of the Nuggets don't pay luxury tax. Like they're not down with paying. Like they have the 2-time defending MVP.
Right. And nothing else. So I don't know if you even want this Conley guy.
I mean, they've spent, that's the funny thing. Connolly gets a ton of credit. Nuggets writers give him a ton of credit for just the culture of the team and like all the success you have. And when you get an MVP in the second round, obviously you get some credit for that, but then also it's a chicken or the egg of like, well, Jokic seems to be the squad. A lot of the moves around the edges because of injury haven't worked out. Like if Jamal Murray's there, if Michael Porter Jr. is there.
And that was a Masai pick, right? Jokic is that long ago, isn't it?
I don't even remember, honestly, who gets all the credit for it. But like, it's sad for Nuggets people that like you should pay to keep your front office talent and you should obviously spend money to surround Jokic with the best players. I know they paid the massive extensions to Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. And because those guys are hurt, that's why you're not as good. But also they have traded picks like to unload salary in like multiple times in the last several years. So it seems like that's definitely
even players want to leave. Like Jeremy Grant left a playoff team just because he didn't like it there.
Well, that might have been different. I mean, Jeremy Grant, I believe publicly said he wanted to go to a team that had a black GM and a black head coach, and he wanted a bigger role on the Pistons. Apparently the Nuggets offered him the same amount of money, but then it was definitely, then the Nuggets traded for, Aaron Gordon. So I don't know. It does just seem sad for our Nuggets friends, where it seems like maybe this is a play by Connolly to pressure.
I didn't think of that
ownership to actually pony up
a Billy Bean move,
and go into the luxury tax to support this team. But who knows? Anyway, John, thanks for stopping by. Enjoyed talking with you. We will be back on Monday, I believe, with a brand new episode, a full episode with you and Chuck. If you want to support our show, you can do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. You can follow us on Twitter at fastbreakbreak. Follow John, Master John Burr. You guys are the best. Thanks for listening. Remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Ciao, baby.
See you, bud.